Hello and welcome to the Crochet Cakes YouTube channel. This is part 2 of our single crochet V-stitch raglan, and in this video we are going to be separating for the sleeves and working our body. If you've missed part 1, then you can find it linked in the iCard above as well as in the description box below. Let's get started. The first thing we need to do is to try on our yoke. You can see this is the sample that I've been crocheting in the tutorial. It's of course too short. Ideally, these corners where we've done our increases reach under your arm. And I'm gonna try the raglan top that I was crocheting last year so you can see what I mean. This is the V-stitch raglan top that I was working on last autumn, and we are going to be trying it on. If you're curious, I'm also using fingering weight yarn for this top, and I'm actually ripping back a raglan sweater that I crocheted way back in 2017. Okay, so this one is a little bit more advanced than the ones that I have been working on recently, but you can see what I mean. My yoke reaches under my arm, and if I pull just slightly, you can see that the V's, the increased V's would be touching. Now for this sample, I wanted it to be a bit closer to my body, so I actually did a bit of a shorter yoke. Some things to consider before we move on with separating for the sleeve are the material that you've chosen to work with. If you are working with a fingering weight yarn or a wool blend yarn, then I would highly suggest that you wet block your garment right now before you separate for the sleeves to make sure that you have the armhole length that you desire and it's not too big or too small. Let's consider the autumnal raglan top again. So in this top, like I said, I am using wool, and I'm using what you would consider to be fingering weight wool. So I did my armhole depth a bit short. I did it to be 7 inches exactly, because when I block it, I know that it's going to reach 7.5 inches. But because I did the armhole so close to the body, I chose to do more chains to connect my top when I separate for the sleeves. I've ended my raglan rounds on a round 4 repeat, which means that I have increased in the space between the two V-stitches. So I am going to continue my V-stitch until I get to the marker, and I will meet you back here when we are 1 stitch before the marker. Almost at the marker. Remember that we are stopping here, 1 stitch before the marker. I am going to place a single crochet in the marked stitch. After we complete the single crochet in the marked stitch, we are going to do 3 chains. So this is 1, this is 2, and 3. And now we are going to skip all these stitches that are between this marker and this one. We are skipping them, we're not working into them, okay? So we're gonna fold our work like a taco again, and we are going to single crochet in the next marked stitch. This is very important. Please don't remove your markers. We need them for when we work up the sleeve. And now we have joined, we have separated for our sleeves, and we have joined for the body. So this is what it's going to look like. Okay, here we have an armhole, our join, and now we're going to continue working V-stitches until we are 1 stitch before this next marker. Okay, so we're going to continue working until we are here. Now remember that with this sample we are assuming that I've reached the desired armhole depth. It is very obvious right now that I haven't, unless this is to fit a child. But right after this round, we need to try on our top to make sure that we like the fit of it, okay? We've arrived at the next marked stitch, so we're going to do a single crochet. Then we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. And then we are going to skip all these V-stitches that are between the two markers, and we're going to tackle it and do a single crochet here. In the next marked stitch. Time to try on the top to make sure that we are comfortable with the amount of chains that we've done beneath the armhole. Once we've tried on the top and we are comfortable with those amounts of chains, then we are going to continue working V-stitches until we reach the end of the round. We've separated for the sleeves, so we're going to begin round 1 of the body. For round 1 of the body, we're going to work single crochet V-stitches in each chain 2 space until we reach this single crochet. Okay, we've reached the single crochet. So now I'm going to skip the single crochet and I'm going to work a V-stitch in the chain following that single crochet. So in this chain, I'm going to work a V-stitch. And I like to go under both loops for that here. Okay, then I'm going to skip the next chain and work a V-stitch in this next chain. Next, we're going to skip the single crochet and continue working single crochet V-stitches until we get to the next single crochet. Okay, this is the last V-stitch before we reach the single crochet. So we're going to skip the single crochet and we're going to work a V-stitch in that first chain. We're going to skip one chain and work a V-stitch in this last chain. It's kind of hard to work the last chain, but Now we're going to skip the single crochet and we're going to be working V-stitches until the end of the round. Remember that we work V-stitches in our chain 2 spaces. For round 2 of the body onwards, we're going to continue working V-stitches in the round. Remember that the V-stitch is worked in the chain 2 space, and it is composed of a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. I'm sure you're all very familiar with this by now, but I just wanted to give you a gentle reminder, as it were. As you continue to work single crochet V-stitches around the body, I would try on the top so that you can determine which length you prefer. Let's review what we've done. So in this video, we have separated for the sleeves. As you can see, we have the body between our mark stitches, and we have one armhole here and one armhole here. So now we, as I said, continue working single crochet V-stitches around the body. Now we can choose to continue working our body however long we want, or we can work on our sleeves. The choice is up to you. When I'm working with limited amount of yarns, I do like to stop working on the body and then work on the sleeves, just so that I know how much yarn I am playing with. And my suggestion here would be that you at least crochet until you have 8 inches. So we measure right from the underarm all the way down to here. These would be your 8 inches, and this would result in a cropped length top or sweater. If you would like it longer, then just keep adding rounds. Again, I urged you to try on as you go. If you would like to do some sort of shaping for the body to kind of come in a little bit, then I would suggest decreasing hook sizes, going from a 6 to a 5.5. However, remember that the smaller your hook, the tighter your gauge is going to be, so the less stretch you're going to have. Okay, for the purposes of this tutorial, I've completed the body. Let's pick up the stitches for the sleeves. To work the sleeves, we're going to attach yarn to the bottom of the armhole, and I'm actually going to be working into the same places that we did our V-stitches, okay? So you can see these are the 2 V-stitches that we did from the body. So I am going to attach to the base of that V. And I'm going to grab yarn. We're going to chain 1 to secure, and in that same space work a V-stitch. This is our very first V-stitch for the sleeve, and now we're just going to continue working V-stitches around. The next V-stitch, we're actually going to make it in the marked stitch that we had. This is why we didn't remove the markers when we separated for the sleeves, because we need them to tell us where the marked stitch was. If you did remove your marker, remember that the marked stitch was where we placed the single crochet when we separated for the sleeves, okay? So this is a single crochet, and this is the chain 2 space from the V-stitch. In this chain 2 space, we're gonna do our next V-stitch. And honestly, this is the only tricky bit from the sleeve, because after that we're just going to continue working single crochet V-stitch until we get to the next marker. Once again reached a marked stitch, so I'm going to remove that marker and I'm going to work a single crochet V-stitch right here. Okay. And now I'm going to work my second single crochet V of the underarm. Just like with the body, we are not going to slip stitch to join. We're simply going to continue working in continuous rounds. Just find that chain 2 space and work your V stitches. For this round, we are simply going to continue crocheting single crochet V stitch in each chain 2 space. And the same can be said for every other round that is going to follow this one. We're simply going to continue working single crochet V stitch in the round. If you would like to do some shaping, I would suggest the same as with the body, that you decrease your hook size. The other trick that you can use to decrease in the sleeve is the same one that I used in the Vintage Waves sweater, and that is to actually use single crochet stitches. Just keep in mind that when you're using the single crochet stitches, your height of the stitch is obviously different, so it's going to be very obvious if you do decide to decrease using single crochet stitches. So that's why I just recommend going down a hook size. Simply remember that when you go down a hook size, your tension tends to get tighter, so just play around with how tight you're willing to go for your tension, because you know it's a sleeve, you're going to be moving around, you want a certain amount of flexibility to it. For the sleeve, if you want a short sleeve, I recommend doing, depending on your hook size, 7 rounds of single crochet V stitches. That gives you a nice sleeve cap. Or of course you could go for a longer sleeve and just do cuffs at the end to cinch it all in. Remember that after the sleeve separation, the body and the sleeves are worked exactly the same, in that we are just working single crochet V stitches in the round. The only thing to remember here is that your single crochet V stitches are worked in your chain 2 spaces. I just wanted to reiterate that and remind you that after we separate for the sleeve, it doesn't really matter if you complete the body first and then go for the sleeves, or if you complete the sleeve first and then go with the body. It's all the same. However, if you are short on yarn, then I do recommend that you complete your sleeves before you complete your body, and that way you know how much yarn you're playing around with. And that, my crafty friends, is how we separate for the sleeves in a raglan construction and continue working our body as well as our sleeves. In the next installment of this video series, we're going to be working the finishing touches of our raglan together, and hopefully by then I will also have a finished crochet garment to share with you. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of crafty time with me today. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments section below. And please tell me what yarn combinations you've chosen to work with, as well as the colors that you are working up your raglan top. You guys already know that I am working mine in a fingering weight yarn with a 3.75mm crochet hook. Let's see where I'm currently at. As you can see, I just have a teeny weeny little raglan yoke, but it's looking lovely. Let's measure and see how much I actually have. I only have a little tiny amount, so measuring at a diagonal to the point of the increase, I have 5 inches, and I actually want to crochet all the way down to 8 inches. So I'm still missing potentially 3 inches of single crochet V-stitch raglan to complete my yoke and separate for the sleeves. And as you saw at the very beginning, not only am I working up this fingering weight version with beautiful yarn, I am also working up the version for the tutorial, which is this one at top, and I am also working up my autumnal version, which I actually started in September of 2023 and haven't actually finished. Thank you so much for joining me today for this second part of our single crochet V-stitch raglan. Don't forget that we just have one more part left of this series, and that is the finishing touches.